What's up, guys? Theo here, coming to you with a prediction for Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell versus Josh Emmett. Bryce Mitchell is an incredibly talented grappler who is coming off a win of Dan Ige and has taken this fight on 10 days' notice. Josh Emmett is a good boxer with a lot of power. Unfortunately, he's coming off of a brutal loss to Ilia Topuria, where he was dragged around the canvas and beat within an inch of his life several times throughout that fight. I thought it could have been stopped. It was kind of hard to watch. And I actually thought that Josh Emmett had a good chance of knocking Topuria out in that fight, but the way that I saw that fight play out and the way that I saw Bryce Mitchell's last fight play out, I just don't see Josh Emmett getting a win here. I know there's just a lot of people all over a lot of dogs this card. A lot of people are picking Josh Emmett. They're saying that, like, oh, he's got good takedown defense. Bryce Mitchell's not going to be able to take him down. 10-day notice, whatever. It's a bunch of FUD. If you don't know what FUD stands for, it stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's a term that's often used when talking about the stock market and picking stocks. But I like to use it a lot with gambling because gambling's a market as well. They're both markets. They have a lot of things in common. And, man, I don't get what the argument is. So many people are making so many crazy arguments about underdogs on this card. I mean, how are you going to tell me that you think that Bryce Mitchell's not going to be able to get Josh Emmett down? What? Has Bryce Mitchell struggled to, like, get people to the ground in his fights before? I don't think so. I mean, I can't remember any instance where he was unable to get one of his opponents down. Except Topuria, and that's just because Topuria was, like, beating the shit out of him. It's not because, like, Topuria was trying to avoid the ground. And people forget Topuria is a great grappler himself. And everyone's, like, saying, oh, that loss to Topuria, he looked so bad in that loss to Topuria. Guys, that's overblown. He did not look that bad in that loss to Topuria, to be honest. He had the flu, guys. I mean, you believe that or not, it could have been an excuse. But I don't think he did that badly against Topuria. And here's the thing. This guy was undefeated and tearing through his weight class before he ran into Topuria. Both of them were undefeated. Both of them were kind of around the same level. There's a reason they made that fight, okay? They wanted to see who would come out on top. Topuria came out on top, guys. Topuria's a bad motherfucker, okay? He's just more skilled and he's just more game. Bryce Mitchell's still a great fighter. He just ran into some resistance there. I'm especially surprised people are picking Emmett here because of how Dan Ige got manhandled. And I've heard some people say, well, Dan Ige is trash. Yeah, well, that's not what you guys were saying when Bryce Mitchell was scheduled to fight him. Everyone was picking Dan Ige to upset as well there, too. So a lot of people, I think, just don't like Bryce Mitchell because of his beliefs and how outspoken he is, and he's a rube. I don't care. I like him. I think he's got a lot of personality. Fucking dig the guy. And, I mean, you guys saw what he did to Dan Ige on the ground. This guy is a jiu-jitsu whiz, man. I mean, he is very talented with the jiu-jitsu, especially for someone who is not training at, like, a big-name gym and doesn't have some kind of, like, long, like, history of grappling. I mean, you watch this guy grapple, you would think he was, like, the fucking Lost Gracie kid from when fucking Hoist Gracie took a trip to Tennessee or some shit. Like, I mean, the guy is, he's a whiz on the ground, man. And if he gets this down, I think Josh Emmett is going to be completely lost there. Emmett got subbed by Yair. Yair's not known for subbing people, okay? And Yair is good, but he's not known as a submission threat. That's never been Yair's game. He's never even fought like that. He manages to catch Josh Emmett in a submission. Everyone's saying, oh, Josh Emmett wrestling is going to be too much. Bryce isn't going to be able to get him down. Guys, guess what? Bryce Mitchell's stand-up is underrated, too. Everyone talks about he has shit stand-up. He can't say. What are you guys talking about? He fucking, like, he knocked the shit out of Dan Ige in that last fight a couple times. I mean, he doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He's not as dangerous on the feet as someone like Topuria is. He's still dangerous, guys. I've seen him crack motherfuckers. So, I do not see Emmett winning this. And everyone talking about the 10-day notice thing. Guys, Bryce Mitchell would not take this fight if he thought he was going to lose. He wouldn't take a random 10-day notice fight on UFC 296's gigantic card. He would not do that if he didn't think that he could beat Josh Emmett. Obviously, he has seen something, probably the grappling holes that Yair Rodriguez exposed, and he knows he can take advantage of that. And guys, guess what else? Ilia Topuria just beat Josh Emmett, and Bryce Mitchell's only loss is to Ilia Topuria. Okay, he felt bad about that loss. He said it. He said he was sick. He said he wanted it back, and he almost quit after that, man. I knew he wasn't going to quit. I knew he was just talking. But, yeah, man, I think that Bryce is coming in with something to prove, man. I think he wants to show people that he can get that Topuria fight back. And I think he probably wants to try to run it back and see if he can get a second fight, which, I mean, that's two guys I would love to see run it back, because they were two of my favorite featherweights, and featherweight's just such a stacked division, man, and I think that Bryce Mitchell could come out and make a real statement against Josh Emmett this weekend. I think he's going to submit Josh Emmett. I don't see it being super competitive. I think he might get cracked once or twice by Emmett, but I just don't think Emmett's style of boxing has really aged super well in the UFC. He's got a pretty predictable, I mean, all he has really is insane power. And he's got this thing where he does this thing where it's like bad McGregor, where he's like dancing and dancing, and then he comes in and explodes, and just with this insane power, and you're like, holy fuck, if one of those connects, this guy's going down. But he's not knocking people out. He hasn't been doing that. He didn't really ever have Topuria in trouble. He didn't have Yair Rodriguez in trouble. Yeah, man, he's just taking too much damage, man. That Topuria fight was hard to watch, dude. It was hard to watch him get beaten like that. That was a really one-sided beating. One of the hardest fights that I've personally sat through. Just because I felt like he was outmatched, and you could almost just see the damage. You could just, you could almost feel him getting older in that fight. I think Topuria really took some years off of his life with that beating, and I don't think that getting subbed by Yair Rodriguez helped. Give me Bryce Mitchell by submission, guys, here. This is one of my most confident picks on this card. So I know Bryce Mitchell's like a minus 400 favorite. Don't let people tell you he's too big of a favorite here. He's not. The only way he loses this is he gets he's going to have to get knocked out cold stiff. Emmett is going to have to knock him out cold, because if Emmett TKOs him and rushes in like a fucking dummy, Bryce Mitchell's going to get him, dude. He's going to sub him. Bryce Mitchell's one of the most talented jiu-jitsu guys right now. So Bryce Mitchell all day, guys. Keep it locked in. UFC 296 later this week. Let's go.